Yeah, about me. I guess first, let me go back. Yeah, interesting title. There's no actual hacking involved. It was all legal, and I gave myself permission to read my own Gmail. But hacking sounds interesting, like I'm gonna crack into your Gmail. But I'm not. You can do it yourself. So I don't know if Jared planned this, but Roger before me and Stephanie after me are Hopkins people, and I'm a Hopkins grad, so you get a nice Hopkins afternoon. I guess they breed our people there. And like Catherine earlier, I got here by talking to Jared mistakenly, and he saw something I did and said, "You should present that." And I was like, okay. And that was months ago, and he remembered. So I'm here. But yeah, so about me, yeah, I raise chickens. That's a view from my chicken cam. When I get chicks in the spring, y'all can get in on the live feed. It's great chicken cuteness action. I hate pie charts, which I assume the rest of you do. Raise your hand if you hate pie charts. All right, those of you without your hands up, talk to me after. And my real job now is I find people doing DNS tunneling kind of things, cyber stuff. So when y'all signed into the Wi-Fi today, you got that. So did y'all instead hire up your DNS VPN network to your home DNS machine? Probably not, no. Just me. But you could have and got free internet. So next time I'll bring my burner laptop, we'll have a different presentation. But yeah, so now a confession. I spoke at the New York R conference in 2017. That's me there looking angry, because I'm an angry person. And I talked about data privacy and how the lawyers are going to come and ruin your analytics by, things like the GDPR, and you can't have data, so you can't analyze data. And I was probably a little ahead of my time there, because people were like, what? And then afterwards, during these great sessions, a lot of people came up to me and was like, so I totally released data and I probably shouldn't have. Am I going to jail? And I'm like, not yet. Be glad you're not in Europe. But, my big secret there was that I wasn't an R person, right? I was just like a math nerd, and I was a Python guy, and I was asked to speak at this R conference, and I was like to my CEO, what are you doing? Like, I'm not that guy. He's like, you don't have to talk about R, just talk about data privacy, and our people like data. So that's what I did. And it was nerve-wracking, and I was like, I don't like R. And in fact, I was kind of anti-R. In fact, I was like this guy. I was like, R is a programming language written by a statistician. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Nobody. It's a big joke on the world. But I sat at that conference, and it started to sink in, which was good. So I kind of made an effort over the last 2 years or so to really learn and embrace R. And I found out at that conference really that R had changed, right? So I had like that one course in grad school at Hopkins that we had to use R, and I was like, okay, I wrote a bunch of arrows, and I was like, what's the point of all this? I don't get it. Give me my grade, and I'm done, and I'll never touch it again until a couple years ago. So, but it changed, right? That's what I learned, and I hope you all have learned this. That go read the Tidy paper, which is I guess pre-Tidyverse, but whatever. It kind of put words to how I now think about data, and probably how I should have been thinking about data, and even changed like how I think about big data. Like, big unstructured SQL became the big thing, and just like, well, it's actually tidy data, but it just has a bunch of NAs all throughout it, and you don't have to worry about them, right? And then they came up with this funky pipe thing and the Tidyverse, and kind of I was hooked. And the other thing that happened at that conference that has happened here, I hope for most people, is this format. Like, we got 20 minutes to talk. I can talk for 20 minutes about anything. In fact, I'm fluent in Pig Latin. I could talk for 20 minutes in Pig Latin. And you can, at the bar later, we'll do Pig Latin. But this community is great, right? We've got 20 minutes, and we got these big breaks. and Jared's good at getting nerds to force themselves to talk to each other, and then it turns out we're all kind of have little quirk things like speaking Pig Latin, and we get along. So yeah, this community's great, right? So anyone, this is like, get on Twitter and start following everyone who you've seen speak and around and talked about, right? You'll get this was great conversation in this whole thread. We could do a whole speech on it. I still don't know, what the real difference is between equal and that arrowy thing, but I am not a cop, so I don't use equal. But seriously, like join in, it's great stuff. Everyone's helpful. Jared has a Slack. Have you even mentioned that today? No. Get on his Slack and ask questions. And don't really, post a cool plot you made because you'll be up here like me. So unless that's what you want. So yeah, back to the real talk. So before my other talk was about data privacy techniques, and differential privacy is kind of like the main thing in that now. And the new 2020 census, lots of census talk, they're actually releasing that data in 2020 using differential privacy. So what does that mean? This is the formula. It's all self-evident. I'm sure I can go on, but I'll go over it. So differential privacy is really, if you have two data sets and you perform some kind of aggregation or operation on those two data sets, the result of that operation shouldn't differ by more than this e to the epsilon. And epsilon is what differential privacy people call their privacy budget. And so the census, and the technique to do this generally is you submit a query to a data source, and then you get the result of that query, and then you add noise proportional to the data or what specifically the query was about. So in the census, it'll be a lot of counting. Their sensitivity is what they say drives that. And when you count things, your sensitivity is 1. So it's, an off by 1 error. You'll never be able to zero in on someone specifically with the new census data if they did differential privacy right. I hope they did. I've seen them talk and yeah, so the new data will have noise in it. Add another noise term to your models. I don't think it's going away. So you can learn more about privacy and data privacy. This talk isn't really about data privacy. There's this Harvard Privacy Tools Project, which has kind of started to be this, despite it not being Hopkins, it seems to be a good spot for data privacy professionals to collaborate. They have MIT and a bunch of other people there. They claim they're putting an R package out. I haven't seen it yet, but I know they are a bunch of R people, and I'm sure they're busy like the rest of us and haven't done a good vignette quite yet. But look for it in the future. So yeah, then when I'm in the midst of all this data privacy stuff like this happened, right? The Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. So everyone knows what happened. You had to know that, if your first girlfriend was a Sagittarius, you were going to have a happy marriage later in life. Took a quiz, they stole your data. And, whatever happened after that with your data. So, with that, I was like, all right, cool. Google Alerts. I have Google Alerts set up for differential privacy. This is my Google Alert for multiple sclerosis, another favorite topic. But basically, you set up keywords and you get articles about that keyword semi-periodically when they find it. I mean, if you put too broad of a keyword, you get an email every day with all kinds of stuff, but something like differential privacy that you kind of get them periodically. So when that Cambridge thing went down, I was like, oh, cool. I think now differential privacy is coming into my Google Alerts more and more. Let me see if I can figure that out. So in my new R hat, because I went to the New York R conference, I did just that. So I blindly dug in and I said, how do I read email in R? And I knew Jared sends emails in R. Do you guys get our email from Jared for this whole conference, I'm sure, if you look at the bottom. And so I was like, all right, I can do this. And if you go to takeout.google.com, you can just download your whole mailbox or parts of your mailbox, or actually anything in the Googleverse that is your data. They will tar it up and send it to you. So cool. Go do that and download it. And so this TM is text mining. There you go. And they have a mail plugin, and you kind of plug in your inbox file Google sends you, and you do a vcorpus. And I was like, this is feeling like old school R, and then your thing looks like old school junk. Like a raw email is just text all over the place. It's a bunch of, like, all your attachments are just encoded into text, and it's a nightmare system. That it actually still works is amazing. But I was like, I started to parse through this, all the blank lines, and figuring out what they use as carriage returns. And it depends who sent you the email, what they use as carriage returns. It's a big nightmare. So yeah, in typical R fashion, I found another package. So Gmailer. Gmailer's awesome. It interfaces with the Gmail REST API, so I hope you use Gmail, because otherwise the rest of this will kind of be useless. So there's a bunch of setup kind of required to authorize and go through the OAuth and create a project and stuff, and it's not that hard. The Gmailer site goes through that pretty good. Go to the GitHub, they explain it. But then you just get a bunch of functions that are really easy and then really work well with dplyr and the tidyverse and all that. Like just message gives you a bunch of message IDs with a query string. So, and then you just pass in those message IDs to other functions like subject and from and all that stuff, and it just starts ripping apart your email for you in a nice kind of R fashion. There's still some quirks to it, but in general, it's pretty good. So here is my little simple program, but yeah, basically you just get the secret file from Google that they give you when you go through the whole setup, and load it in, and then you just get messages. And this is a simple query string, like you can type in Gmail search. And what I'm looking for here is this line of text in the email. I'm actually looking for this number. So I wrote a little, G-sub thing to grab. Sometimes it says news, sometimes it says web, whatever. Grab it, grab the number, and hydrate message list. This is not that. This is grabbing the body of the message after you get the IDs. But once you do that, you can grab that number out of these emails and start seeing if people care about privacy. So this is the cumulative number of Google Alert articles in my email, and then Cambridge Analytica hit and we got a spike. Later on, the GDPR hit and nobody cared. So I guess Europeans don't write articles or whatever, but I was hoping for another spike, but no. So that's about it. There's still some quirks in R. What package is the function tidy in? It's in the Broom package. It's not in tidyverse. It's not in the tidy package. It's in Broom. Whatever, it's fine. You just get used to it. How do you find the right packages? Crayon Searcher I like. Have you guys seen Crayon Searcher? Well, probably can't pull it up without screwing this whole system up. But it's built into RStudio, and you can just kind of search around Crayon for the right package and sort by when it was published, which is the most useful thing probably lately. I feel like there should be a Crayon new or something, like some kind of flag, like it works with dplyr or it kind of was before that. But people are writing packages to wrap those packages all the time. So yeah, so the other thing I like to do is play the R game of if I can guess the package. So paste is kind of clunky and you're kind of looking for something else. Well, it's glue, right? Because R people are clever. So the package you are looking for to replace paste is glue. And yeah, so if you're looking for something, this is really how I kind of learned R, was by analyzing myself. Like I just started downloading all my own data. Here's all the links to go download all your own data from all the major platforms. And you'll get a nice zip file and stuff like that of everything. And you can usually select what you want, like if you want every image or not. And just go do it and start ripping through it with R. And I find that to be a more interesting way than trying to understand MT cars or why people care about that so much. But I mean, really, you have to understand that to learn R. So yeah, reach out to me. That's me, and I think that's all I have.